Hello, friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Monday, the 8th of March, 2021. I'm Jeannie. I'm so glad you've decided to come along for the ride today. It's very interesting. Yesterday, I had the pleasure, once again, the rotation came around to my turn, and I had the pleasure of taking care of the nursery duties at church in the morning service. And I had a couple of toddlers in there. I had a baby in there. It was very interesting. Believe me, those kids kept me on my toes for the duration of the church service. But I had little Jacob, and he's the not quite 4-year-old baby brother of an 8-year-old sister. And he was playing there. Yesterday, his older sister was in children's church in another room, so it was just him and another little girl who was in there, Ella, and she's 3, and she had her own little bottle of juice that she was drinking out of her little drinking bottle, and Jake wanted a sip of her juice, and he said, "She's not sharing." And I said, "Well, that's Jake. You really can't have Ella's juice." He said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because it's Ella's and you can't have it." And, it's very hard to explain something like that to a child who's learning how important it is to share. And he said, "My sissy lets me share with her." And I said, "Well, yes, that's right, but she lives in your house." And he said, "Well, why won't she share?" And he wasn't getting it. And I wasn't very convincing to him that it's not okay for him to share with this other little girl. And I said, "It's complicated." And there's this little not quite 4-year-old puts his little hand on his hip and looks at me and said, "Well, that's a very interesting answer." The truth be known, it is complicated, boys and girls, and we just don't know how to deal with all the ins and outs of this pandemic as it's sweeping the world globally like this. It's rough, and you try to get back to as much normal as you can, and of course, there's all the precautions and everything that we take, especially in the place like a church nursery, now that our churches are back open again, and a lot of Lysol spraying and a lot of, wiping of noses and things like that, and making sure there's a lot of sanitizer that's being used and everything. But how do you explain something like that to a small 3-year-old child? It's rough. So imagine this, if it's that difficult to understand as adults, that we all have so many questions like, when is this thing going to end? And when are we ever going to get back to the way it was? And things like that. Imagine how much more challenging it is for a little 3 or 4-year-old child. So here's my word to you today, boys and girls. We all know it is complicated. And that's a fine answer, isn't it? A very interesting one. Let's hang in there. Let's hang in there together, because things are opening up some. We're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with this whole thing. I know it's been a year now, and it's a challenging season for all of us. But as we get through it, we could get through it together, and then maybe we'll be able to explain it a little better to people like Jacob when they get a little older, and explain the reason why he wasn't allowed to have a sip out of Ella's juice bottle. Now listen, go out and be a blessing to somebody today, okay? Because you may end up being the only one who is. And don't forget, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeanne Sigler, JeanneSigler. Hit that notification bell, and you will be notified every time another Take Two is premiering. All right, y'all have a blessed and wonderful week, okay? Hang in there. Hang in there, because as we all know, it is complicated. I love ya. I'll see you on Wednesday for Hump Day. Be blessed. Bye-bye.